The 1970s were a time of change, challenge, and character across the United Kingdom. Industry was shifting, music was evolving, and the streets of Britain's great cities were alive with stories, some fading, others just beginning. In this video, we take you on a visual journey through the 5 most important cities in the UK during that unforgettable decade. We'll walk their streets, revisit their landmarks, and uncover what everyday life looked like. From factories and football grounds to high streets and hidden corners, each city had its own soul, its own rhythm, and its own place in the heart of Britain. And the last one on our list might just surprise you. In the 1970s, Manchester stood at a crossroads, a city rich in industrial heritage, facing the slow decline of the very industries that once made it thrive. Once known as Cottonopolis, the world's textile capital, Manchester was transitioning. The factories still stood, the chimneys still smoked, but the golden age of industrial dominance was fading. Still, the city's heartbeat never stopped. Rows of red brick terraces filled with working-class families stretched endlessly, and corner pubs buzzed with stories and northern grit. The Arndale Centre, a bold new shopping complex, opened in 1975, symbolising an attempt to modernise the city centre, though it would divide opinion for decades. Manchester was also a city of contrasts. Rising unemployment and economic stagnation led to frustration and tension, especially among the youth. But in that struggle, something powerful was brewing. Music, art and rebellion began to take root in unexpected places, in record shops, student halls and the basements of pubs. It was in the cracks of the crumbling infrastructure that Manchester found new life. A generation of young people began to shape the sound and style that would define the next decades. The seeds of post-punk and the Manchester scene were quietly being planted. Beyond the cultural stirrings, Manchester remained proud. Old Trafford roared with football passion, and community spirit held strong in tight-knit neighbourhoods. The city had scars, yes, but it also had soul. And even in its toughest moments, Manchester never stopped looking forward. The 70s didn't define Manchester. They tested it. And in that test, the city found a new voice, one that still echoes today. In the 1970s, Birmingham was Britain's industrial powerhouse, a city built on metal, machines, and sheer determination. Known as the workshop of the world, Birmingham produced everything from cars and motorcycles to tools and electronics. The roar of factory floors and the glow of furnaces defined daily life for thousands. The city's economy was driven by giants like British Leyland, with sprawling plants employing entire families across generations. Streets bustled with workers in overalls, and public transport pulsed with the rhythm of the shift change. Aston, Longbridge and Small Heath were more than neighbourhoods, they were the lifeblood of production. But the decade wasn't without difficulty. Industrial unrest, strikes and inflation took a toll, and many Brummies faced uncertainty. Still, community ties remained strong. On Saturday mornings, Bullring Market was a hive of activity, filled with voices, smells, and stories from all walks of life. Birmingham in the 70s was also incredibly diverse. Immigration from the Caribbean, South Asia, and Ireland had transformed the city into a multicultural mosaic. With it came new traditions, cuisines, and music. Reggae and Bhangra echoed alongside rock and punk. The city's cultural identity was evolving, sometimes clashing, but always growing. Yet, beneath its industrial surface, Birmingham nurtured creativity. It was here that the sound of heavy metal took shape, with bands like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest emerging from smoky pubs and working-class garages. Out of the noise came something truly new. Birmingham in the 70s was gritty, proud and complex. It faced challenges head-on and never forgot its roots in hard work and resilience. Even in decline, the spirit of the workshop lived on, adaptable, determined and distinctly Brummy. By the 1970s, Liverpool's golden age as a bustling port city was slipping into memory. The docks that once connected Britain to the world were falling silent. Global trade routes had shifted, and containerization left the city's traditional shipping methods obsolete. Jobs vanished, and the impact was devastating. Unemployment surged, and urban decay spread across neighbourhoods like Toxteth, Kirkdale, and Everton. Grand Victorian buildings stood crumbling, and entire streets were cleared in mass demolition efforts. Yet, despite the hardship, Liverpool never lost its identity. It remained a city of sharp wit, deep loyalty, and unshakable pride. The working class kept the city alive. Pubs, football terraces, and corner shops became pillars of community, places where people gathered, laughed, argued, and supported one another. Anfield and Goodison Park roared with life every weekend, offering hope and glory, even when the city outside felt like it was falling apart. Culturally, Liverpool was still a giant. The shadow of the Beatles lingered, but new talent emerged through grassroots music scenes, theatre and art. The Everyman Theatre gave voice to a new generation of playwrights and performers, while musicians continued to experiment, blending rock, soul, and spoken word. Racial tensions grew during the decade, especially in areas like Toxteth, which would later become flashpoints for unrest. But amid these divisions, there was also solidarity, activism, and resistance, a fierce belief that Liverpool's story wasn't over. In the 1970s, Liverpool was bruised but not broken. Its skyline told of past greatness, but its people spoke of survival. Through hardship came humour, art and unity. If the docks were fading, the spirit of Liverpool only grew louder, raw, resilient, and always ready to fight for its place in the world. In the 1970s, Glasgow was a city caught between its industrial past and an uncertain future. Once famed for its shipbuilding might, especially along the River Clyde, the city's docks were now quieting. The proud legacy of steel, ships, and engineering was giving way to economic decline, mass unemployment, and social unrest. Many Glaswegians lived in overcrowded tenement housing, often without central heating or modern plumbing. Urban planners responded with radical solutions. Entire communities were uprooted and relocated to high-rise tower blocks or satellite towns like East Kilbride and Cumbernauld. It was meant to be progress, but it often bred isolation and loss. Despite the challenges, Glasgow's spirit was unbreakable. On the streets, the working-class humour was razor-sharp, and neighbourhood bonds ran deep. The pub was a sacred place, a shelter from the grey drizzle and hard realities of the day. In these spaces, stories were told, laughter shared, and solidarity strengthened. Politically, the city leaned left, with growing support for socialist ideas and workers' rights. Protests and strikes were common, especially as shipyards and factories shut their gates for good. The Red Clydeside legacy still echoed, reminding Glasgow it had always been a place of resistance and labour pride. Amid the hardship, art and music flourished. Glasgow's raw edges began to shape a unique cultural voice. Gritty, honest and deeply human. Artists, writers and musicians emerged, drawing from the city's history and pain to create something powerful and new. The Glasgow of the 70s was tough, scarred and struggling, but never defeated. Its people carried pride in their accents, their stories, their survival. Beneath the grey skies and concrete estates, a fierce heart beat on, ready to fight for something better. In the 1970s, London was a city of contradictions. Still the capital, still the centre of political and financial power, but no longer the shining symbol of progress it had been in the swinging 60s. The optimism of the previous decade gave way to economic crisis, strikes, and social tension. Inflation soared, rubbish piled in the streets, And the lights quite literally went out during the infamous blackouts of the Winter of Discontent. Yet, even in decline, London remained unmatched in its complexity and energy. The city was growing fast and unevenly. The old East End stood in stark contrast to the rising skyline of the Square Mile. Immigration brought new life into neighbourhoods like Brixton, Southall and Hackney, reshaping the cultural fabric of the capital. These communities faced discrimination and hardship, but they also brought strength, colour and resilience. Reggae, punk, ska and soul spilled from record shops and basement clubs, giving the city a raw new sound. The birth of multicultural London was happening in real time, loud, proud and unapologetically diverse. At the same time, the city grappled with unrest, protests, racial tensions, the threat of IRA bombings and housing inequality. But it was also a place where ideas flourished. Theatre, literature, fashion and underground art were alive with rebellion, satire and bold experimentation. In the parks, the pubs, the grey terraces and grand institutions, London remained a city that couldn't be ignored. It didn't shine like it once had, but it burned fiercely and defiantly. And in many ways, it was this gritty, unpredictable version of London that laid the groundwork for the cultural revolutions that would follow. It's incredible to see how much these cities have changed, from crumbling factories to glittering skylines, from tight-knit communities to sprawling urban centres. Each city has walked a different path, but all carry the marks of their past. Did you enjoy this journey back in time? Was there a city you grew up in, or one you wish you'd seen in the 70s? Maybe we missed a place that holds meaning for you. A town, a neighbourhood, a memory. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to bring more cities from that era back to life in a future video. And if this video sparked some nostalgia or taught you something new, don't forget to leave a like. It helps us more than you know, and without your support, YouTube won't show this to others who might enjoy it too. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next trip back in time.